And we're live. Well, today I have with me Dawei Li from Aloa. They're an innovative software development firm that's kind of doing something different than the typical agency model. And really, I wanted to kind of dig into that a little bit today. But yeah, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, David. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, the place I always like to start these is understanding what led you to start your business. So like what led you to start Aloha and how has it evolved since the early days for you?
Yeah, so we got our start in college way back in about 2016, 2017 when we were working on our own projects. And we were just these group of college students building apps on Vanderbilt's campus. And soon enough, like people around the city in Nashville, National Entrepreneur Center and the overall startup ecosystem had kind of heard about what we were doing. And initially people reached out to ask us to design stuff for them and work on stuff for them. So that's kind of how we got, you know, to dip our toes in the water initially. And when we saw that there was an opportunity and a huge gap there for entrepreneurs to um, connect and work with software developers, and there was a huge pain point there, we started kind of poking at that pain point a little bit deeper and trying to find different solutions and different business models in terms of how can we create a world where anyone can innovate freely. That's our mission, and we still abide by that mission today. So yeah, just really creating a world where people who want to innovate, innovators or startup founders, can be able to easily connect with these teams, easily collaborate with them, easily work with them, and also be able to launch their product successfully, find product market fit. So yeah, back in 2018 was when we officially pivoted to the current business model that we have after several iterations. And yeah, the rest is history. So we've been kind of going at it ever since right around the beginning of 2018 with the business model that we have.
Cool. What did that process of kind of figuring out the right business model look like? Was it just a trial and error and trying different things and some things worked and some things didn't, or did it take a different sort of form?
Yeah, lots of trial and error, lots of market research calls, cold calling people, cold emailing people. Um, we had the advantage of being in school or recently out of school back then. So we were able to craft a very custom cold email message, message of just saying, hey, like we're these recent graduates, we're these recent students trying to disrupt or innovate in this space, and would you just give us a quick 15-20 minute chat for us to ask you some questions and get some feedback from you guys. And we tried out the freelancer model. We tried a trial and hire model. We tried many different models, and we ultimately landed with highly vetted teams that are based either nearshore or offshore as the business model that ultimately resonated most with the audience that we're looking to work with.
Nice. Can you unpack a little bit more of that business model, like just for people who don't, aren't familiar or they're so used to like the typical agency model. How is what you're doing different? And um, yeah, can you kind of just maybe explain a little bit of your thought process getting there?
Yeah, so when we first got started, it was really about creating a partner network. Can we create a partner network that was very highly vetted? Very few number of teams across the board in Latin America, Eastern Europe, and India, but going through and vetting thousands of these firms across the world. So hopping on calls with them, going through their websites, case studies, design work, calling US-based references to double check what their original past work has been with US-based, North American-based clients, and then also hopping on calls with their upper management and interviewing their developers, so on and so forth. So a very rigorous vetting process to begin with. We handpicked about 8 to 10 partners that we've kind of over the years. Some have been around and others have been cycled in and out. And we've mostly leveraged those partners to be able to execute on our project, on our projects. Now, for most of the time that we've existed, we've used more of like a low touch model where we've had the partner network. We've built a platform around that to be able to project manage and pay out these partner firms, sort of a client portal, if you will, as well as a very structured and mature development process that these partner firms were following and getting audited on. So they're following, the best development practices that Fortune 500 companies, developers at Fortune 500 companies would use. So we will onboard people to this infrastructure, and they would work within the infrastructure, and we would just observe it. Now, recently in the last year or so, we kind of pivoted to more of a higher touch model where we pair that development team who does the execution with a product owner or a technical account manager in the United States who is a product expert and is helping the client with more of the strategic side of the product, like the product roadmap, product market fit, meeting with them regularly to ensure the project's delivery and outcome, and also hearing the client out, understanding their business in a deeper level. We kind of discovered that resonated a lot more with our target audience in recent years, which makes sense. We've been in the space for almost 7 years. I think the space has evolved a lot and changed a lot over the last 7 years. When we first came in initially into the industry back in 2017, 2018, it was there was a lot of talk about highly vetted marketplaces, and we wanted to be one, but just a little bit different.
Yeah.
I think as that market got more and more saturated, it's extremely like tough to be able to stand out and compete with the bigger players like TopTal, or there's several other competitors that are similar. So.
Yeah. It sounds like you're not like really an agency, but you're not really a marketplace. You're kind of almost blending a little aspects of both of them together. Is that a
Yeah,
fair?
I'd say we're kind of between like an agency and a consultancy. So an agency would just supply you with the developers, they're focused on execution. And then you got the really big players like Deloitte, Accenture, IBM, Cognizant. And then you have the boutique consultancies that also charge you a lot of money to be able to do strategy planning as well as execution. So we're kind of like a hybrid, like in between there. We're able to
Mhm.
provide these teams that can execute day in and day out, but also a lighter version of a product expert or a product consultant that is also there with you to help you with the product strategy side of things. So without paying hundreds of dollars per hour to one of the consultancies for them to be able to do that.
Yeah. Are you, when it comes to these vetted folks that that are offshore, or near shore, is that something where they like you're passing the lead, for lack of a better term, onto them, and they're working directly with them too, or is it like almost like a subcontractor where you're the main person that your clients are interacting with, and you're just being upfront that they're going to be working with, an execution partner in this other country to actually develop what is being kind of designed and architected by your team.
Yeah, it's not a direct handoff. We're involved through the entire process. So we set up the meeting with the development team. The product owner is normally part of those meetings, and during the scope process, the scoping and estimation process, the team is providing the estimation, providing the quote, and then all of that is being reviewed by our internal team to make sure that it aligns with what the client's needs are. To make sure if anything is overlooked or any hours does need scrutiny, we kind of go back and forth with the development team before that estimation is finalized. Um, so the estimation ultimately is provided by the development team, but we're pretty hands-on throughout the process. providing that proposal, that initial estimation to our client.
Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, it is super interesting, just kind of the model that you have. I'm curious, just when it comes to the growth and scaling of your agent or of your company. I keep on wanting to call it an agency, but of your firm. Um, I imagine there's been some ups and downs, some challenges you've run into. Um, what are some of the things that you've kind of run into around growing and scaling your firm, and how have you approached those?
Yeah, really good question. So, kind of going back to my earlier point about creating that marketplace-esque platform, but a little bit differentiated because we had our own project management tool, we had our own payment portal. We also were a little bit more hands-on in the marketplace, where it's like, hey, we got not just a highly vetted partner, but this vetted partner is certified to use our tool. Their developers are certified to use our tool. They're audited on following our process. So yeah, it's just a more superior product, right? And I think we did that for a while, and I think to an extent it did resonate with the clients that we worked with, but we never truly found like actual product market fit through that. So we were able to scale, to a multi seven figure business from the ground up. Um, but there was a lot of challenges there because we experienced a lot of client churn. And in our industry, it's a bit different than, let's say, like a SaaS industry, because the client churn happens in very long cycles, right? So a client might stay with us for a year or two, and then eventually they would either work with a different team or decide to go directly with the team or something like that. So when we slowly started to pick up and accumulate enough data points where we're saying, hey, we're actually losing clients because of this business model that we've been doing. Um, that was when we made the decision to ultimately pivot. After really about like 6 years of doing that type of business model and building on top of that, and we decided to pivot really quickly into the more higher touch product owner type of engagement. And clients have been eating it up ever since. It really resonates with them. I think which is interesting because it's like it really testifies to with all this tech that we were building, we were trying to create a hands-off platform, a platform where like anyone can go on eventually. The vision was anyone can go on eventually and be able to work with the software development team as easily as they can edit something like a Google Doc or a PowerPoint, right?
Hmm.
And that was kind of the vision for the future, and it was a really exciting vision. But I think ultimately what the people wanted, and they showed that by voting with their dollars,
Yeah.
is they didn't want something that was really low touch and really streamlined and really high tech. They wanted that human interaction to be able to handhold them through the process, help guide them with specific product strategies, product launch, product market fit solutions, rather than being onboarded to a platform and have nobody kind of handhold them through the process. So
Yeah.
that was one of
What
the
did
most challenging decisions we had to make as a company. It's like kind of throwing that out, starting with
Yeah.
something new.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, I feel like a pivot is always something that can be a little bit scary. Um, but if it's the right pivot, it ends up paying off. Um, I mean, it sounds like if you're losing clients pre-pivot, it's might be like a little bit of a what have we got to lose? But I guess I'm curious,
Mhm.
what sort of I don't know, thinking went into, is this the right way to pivot? Like, what was there some sort of process that you guys took to figure out where you wanted to pivot to? Um, yeah, I guess just kind of trying to understand what, um, yeah, mainly so like other people who are exploring a pivot themselves, like what sort of lessons might you have for how to do it and maybe not end up someplace worse than where you started?
Yeah, really good question. I'd say I'm trying to remember what were the different. We didn't even do it in like a systematic step. We just did it fast and we started. Hey, let's try it. But obviously, at first, is just number one is just talking to customers and seeing if this is something that they would want. So initially, it's just we get on sales calls every day, and initially just instantly changing the pitch to something more higher touch, something that hey, like we have this product expert that's here with you along the way, along with the product execution side of things that our team can provide. Um,
Hmm.
and after you do about 5, 10, 15, you know, or more of these calls, you start to realize a pattern where people, start to resonate with the messaging a little bit more. We didn't change the messaging on our landing page or anything like that. We just started kind of pivoting the sales messaging, and then when we looked at the sales data, um, you know, we weren't tracking like sales velocity or anything like that, but the fact that the leads were more sticky in the pipeline, the fact that they weren't falling off at certain stages, whereas previously they were, that showed a lot of kind of encouragement or signs for us to say, hey, maybe there's something here. And the moment we closed our first few deals with that messaging in place and with the new model in place, that was when we first started to kind of initially beta test this model. I was like, hey, can we pull this off with our current team members? We didn't hire anyone new. It was just our existing team members, and they just had the product knowledge. Our engineers on our team had the product knowledge to be able to, um, and their expertise to be able to consult for clients in that type of a fashion. A few of them have done consulting in the past as well, so that helped. So yeah, so that was how we initially got started, and as that kind of proved to be uh, really good for our clients and increase customer loyalty and client retention and referrals and all that stuff, that was a huge validation for us to just roll it out for our entire client base, and start introducing our legacy clients to this new model, saying that hey, like we have this new offering, we would love to introduce you to our product owner who will kind of take over the strategic side of things for your product.
Yeah.
And then we got great responses from those people, from our existing clients. So that further validated our hypothesis of our clients needing more of that higher touch model.
Cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just always kind of bringing it back to let's test it with the market. And that's the thing is, I guess, if you tried something new and in your sales conversations and it just was not connecting, then you wouldn't have invested too much time into changing too many other things
Right.
prior to that.
Exactly.
So
Because
it was
website
kind of a low
copy
risk.
and
Yeah.
all that stuff, yeah, super low risk. And if you were to pivot, you need to pivot fast and do it really efficiently, and be able to prove your new hypothesis as fast as possible. So for
Yeah.
us, we don't have investors. We don't have, um, you know, several million dollars in the bank for us to burn as a company. We're fully bootstrapped as a startup. Um, so for us, it's very critical to be able to test that hypothesis really quickly and either prove it or disprove it really quickly,
Yeah.
before we move on to something different.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned, I mean, with the model that you have, um, vetting seems like it has to be particularly important because, I mean, that you're essentially kind of trusting your own reputation with the people that you're like partnering with. Can you talk a little bit about how you maybe like your philosophy around the vetting process, and kind of how you chose, who are going to be the partners that you're going to work with?
Yeah, so we're lucky that we have multiple engineers on our team who have worked for companies like Amazon, Google, Capgemini, these bigger companies that they then brought their expertise back to our company. So they've witnessed, how those teams do development, and the quality and the process that they follow. So a lot of our vetting is, or all of our vetting is done by those engineers. So, um, they've gone through things like company case studies, design. We have a very high standard for design. So a lot of those typically weeds out, um, like most of the profiles that we look at. Like we look at the website, look at design, look at case studies, and then if we want to engage with them, we would ask for multiple interviews, speak to multiple um, managing partners or higher ups, C suites on their team, as well as developers on their team, and then calling up US based references to verify past work experience with US based clients. That's really important for us because most of our clients are based in the US. A few things that we do that are a little bit different is we also vet overall company culture, like how loyal are the employees? Is this a toxic working environment for them? We actually gone to most of these countries to visit a lot of these firms a lot of times. Not
Mhm.
not all of them, but most of these firms are locally. We've gone to India, we've gone to Eastern Europe, we've gone to Colombia, in Central America to be able to visit these firms in person to see their office, meet the staff in person, and form that long term partnership, that long term relationship that we can build on top of. Um, so on top of that, we don't have many partners. Like I said earlier, about 10 to 12 global partners that we give these projects to. So each partner does receive a decent amount of project flow from Aloha every year. So that, in a sense, you know, gives our clients a lot of benefit and a lot of leverage because when you outsource alone, your project is essentially monopolized by the team. It's kind of hard to describe that, but let's say like they have 20, 30 different projects running. You're just one of the projects that's running, right?
Mhm.
But for you, that's your entire livelihood. That's your entire company. So when
Mhm.
you outsource through Aloha, we have multiple projects running with them at any given time, and we're giving them a decent amount of project deal flow every single year. So they will treat you, whether you're big or small, like one of their biggest clients, right? So they give us specialized resources. We have dedicated project managers, account managers, and they normally give us some of them their more experienced resources. So in that way, the outsourcing experience is also different than if you were to go directly to the same firm. Not that the quality would drop that much, but just overall kind of experience of working with them is different because you have kind of us mediating that, being in the middle of it.
Cool. Well, I want to switch gears to kind of, I guess, about how you bring in new business. Like as you said, some of these firms in other countries are kind of dependent on some of the deal flow that you're providing them. And I'd love to kind of understand a little bit more about how you generate deal flow for Aloha yourself. I know that it can be kind of a crowded space in the kind of the development services for hire, and yeah, I'd love to kind of understand what your guys' approach, your philosophy is there.
Yeah, so it's been different throughout the years. Initially, in our early phases, there was a lot of outreach, a lot of in-person networking. I'm based here in Nashville, so um, a lot of in-person networking wherever we were. So we had a guy in Chicago, we had a guy in Dallas, and just really going to these networking events, being members of communities that startup founders were hanging out around. So that's the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, Dallas Entrepreneur Center. In Chicago, you have 1871, which is one of the largest business startup incubators in the country. We're really just living and breathing and being part of that community. Um, so we still do that to some extent, and then as we've grown, um, we started to build that really online equity or brand equity online. So our marketing team started the growth engine. They started to create content for us on a weekly basis, publishing blogs, SEO optimizing, and all that stuff. So our growth team was able to increase our monthly traffic to our site from about 1 to 2,000 to 50 to 60,000 within the last 2 years or so. So as of now, most of our traffic, most of our leads and growth comes from that growth engine. So people find us online through our blogs, through organic search rankings on the first page of Google.
Oh, cool. So it's predominantly inbound now, whereas it started outbound, or do you still do any sort of
Yes.
outbound stuff too?
Yeah, we don't do. Yeah, we don't really do any outbound. It's all inbound through the growth engine. Obviously, we have client referrals and partnership referrals still. Um, so the three phases that we sort of went through was initially the first year or two was outbound, and then eventually it was we did a lot of business development, in person part networking, partnering with accelerators and VC firms and stuff like that to be able to gain leads that way. And then eventually, as we did that, we started to build a growth engine, um, and really started to grow that online traffic so that anybody, anywhere can find us and look us up and be able to contact us for our services.
Cool. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Um, when you think about, I guess, where Aloha could go in the future, um, where do you see kind of most of the growth potential to be? And is there anything you feel like that's holding you guys back currently?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest thing holding us back is probably ourselves. I mean, we're not again we're not venture backed, so we're really limited by the amount of business we can do at any given year, right? And how profitable we can be, and how much we invest that profit back into the company for future growth. Um, so it's we're not growing at a rocket ship type of velocity or speed. We're just kind of growing at our own pace, kind of having full control of the company and the future of the company. I think the future vision of where we want to go is well, our marketing team, um, people eventually started seeing what they were doing and really asking them to help them with content creation, blog writing, and SEO. So over the last year, they've been able to scale that business. It's called Tiny Lever Marketing. Um, so it's a subsidiary of Aloha. They've been able to scale that business from zero revenue to about 60K MOR, and they're continuing to grow at a decent pace, with about 19, 20 clients, acquired so far, without losing a single client. So I think that side will continue to grow along with software service as two different verticals. So we're a little bit more diversified now as a company, and um, we're still we still consider ourselves a tech startup. So we love innovating, we love creating tools for our clients. So recently we were developing a AI powered SEO research, SEO keyword research tool
Hmm.
for our marketing side, and we plan to release that tool in 2025 as its own SaaS tool that um, people can pay and use. And we eventually plan to release other tools in the marketplace as well, both marketing and the software side. So I think eventually is creating some sort of a flywheel where people can use our products. There will be freemium versions of all of them,
Yeah.
as well as premium versions of all of them. So that's sort of the SaaS component of it. But at the same time, they will be able to tap into outsourced services in marketing as well as software development as well. So some sort of creating some sort of a three-spoke flywheel where people can come and do everything in one place if they wanted to, or they can just do just software or just marketing or just use our tools if they wanted to. Kind of that full service for small and medium-sized businesses.
Cool. So like the people who are the clients for the marketing services are often like the people that you're develop or that you're working with on the development side as well. So it's like the product gets developed and then they need help marketing it. And so you can basically say, well, we have the subsidiary that can help you with that. And you're monetizing it, but not through like you saying that you do a whole bunch of things, but you're just saying, no, we have this sort of sister brand or something like that that can
Yeah.
handle that for you.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of overlap so far, not too much. Most of the marketing clients, they come from all different sorts of industries, backgrounds,
Mm,
mostly small to medium-sized businesses, whereas the software side is mostly tech startups. We work with CTOs, owners, and product managers from these companies, or they could be solo founders. Um, so it's uh, a little bit different, but there is a little bit of overlap there. Hopefully, you know, more overlap in the future as we get to work with some of these clients with both needs in the future. So I think the bigger vision maybe is to create some sort of I don't know what you want to call it, like Costco for small business, right? Where like everybody can just kind of go to one place, and if they need software outsourcing, they got software outsourcing. If they need product design, they got product design. If they need SaaS tools, they got that. And if they need to market and really launch and grow, they got a team for that. All without spending a single dime to be able to hire in-house resources. So therefore, saving them a lot of money in the long run, and also kind of pushes our mission forward of creating a world where anyone can innovate freely. So
yeah,
kind of
I
all
like
goes
that.
along with that bigger mission.
I love it. Well, yeah, I mean, this has been super interesting. I would love to learn more about how, if people would like to connect with you, learn more about Aloa, or about this other marketing uh, agency. What's the best way for people to connect with you and either start a conversation or just kind of learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, they can message me on LinkedIn. I don't think there's that many Daweis out there, so Dawei Li on LinkedIn, you'll be able to find me pretty easily. And then obviously people can reach out to me over email if they want to. That's just Dawei at aloa.co, ALOA.co. Those are the two main avenues. I don't use Twitter or Instagram or anything like that, so unfortunately I'm not on there. I barely check my LinkedIn, but I'm on there every once in a while. You'll see me posting about different sorts of stuff.
Right on. Well, thanks again for coming on, and yeah, looking forward to staying in touch.
Yeah, thanks, David. Appreciate it.
Thank you.